Welcome to Center Heist Productions. Please hit the likes and subscribe down below in your right hand corner. Please share it with your friends and family and online as well if you're in chats. And if you come across the channel, please don't leave without subscribing and hitting the likes. I would muchly appreciate your assistance as we have been in it 2 years now, trying to grow a strong Habs community where we stick to reviewing games. We will be going into live chats as well, streaming, I guess you call it. And basically, anyway, yeah, there will be more stuff as we're changing software as we go. So, yes, this is a review of last night's game, and we're going to talk about it. We had the Pens in for you know, before we to the end of our home stand at the very tail end. So the Pens were in, and unfortunately, I'll give you the stats first, then we'll discuss it a little further. 9-2. What a crazy score! This was a blowout, and what a sad way to go. We were in this game for 2 periods, and for the collapse that happened, 6-goal collapse in the third period, it's just unacceptable. All right, first period, 1-1. Each exchanging goals. Second period, the Pens go up, add two, and the Habs add one. So we're down 3-2 going into the third. And then a total meltdown, 6 goals by the Pens. Just unbelievable. Jarre gets the win. Montembeault, it wasn't just all on Montembeault. I'll put it to you. Yes, he did look bad on goals 5 and 6, but the team let him down as well. Uh, it was a combination. He just kind of gave up, but also the team did. Uh, Rust got the game-winning goal. This was just not pleasant. So Brian Rust scored 3 goals, and the Pittsburgh Penguins scored 6 times in the third period to rout the Montreal Canadiens 9-2 on Thursday night. Rust scored twice in the second period, and again midway through the third period for his sixth career hat trick. Rickard Rakell had 2 goals and 2 assists for Pittsburgh. Letang, Anthony Beauvillier, Matt Mateo, Noel Achare also scored in the third period, and just ridiculous. So Russ gets the first star, 3 goals and an assist, +3. Crosby had a great game, 3 assists, +3. Third star, Raquel. That line was solid. That entire line was the Stars, 2 goals, 2 assists, +3. And then we look, if you want to get right down into the scoring summary, first period. I mean, what a beautiful setup this was. That Hudson made this happen. Anyway, Caulfield intercepts the puck. Sorry, Cole Caulfield intercepted the puck and broke up a pass and went up the ice 2-on-1 with Nick Suzuki, passes it over, and what a beautiful finish for Nick with somebody right on his heels. 2-12. It was a gorgeous goal. 2-12. The Habs get a goal. Go start the game on the right foot, but Raquel gets one at 4:18. Assisted by Letang and Gilzik. Gilzik, I can't pronounce his name. Grilzjek, power play goal. Anyway, too many penalties. This was another story in the game. The penalties the Habs were giving up. So it was 1-1 after the first. Then at 10:03 in the second period, Russ gets one, assisted by Crosby. At 13:27, Russ gets his second, assisted by Raquel and Crosby. 14:36, Joel Armia brings us back within range. We're only down a goal, assisted by Heineman, which was a beautiful, quick pass. Evans drops it to Heineman, and Heineman wasted no time making the pass over to Armia, spotting that Armia was in a better position to have a better chances on his shot. So very smart thinking on Heineman's play. Um, And that was at 14:36. So we went into the third period only down a goal 3-2. Then you don't mind that. Third period, it just all came apart. 4:40, Raquel scores assisted by Rust and Sidney Crosby. 7:42, Letang scores assisted by Bunton and Raquel on the power play, thanks to Mr. Anderson. 8:41, uh, we had Anthony Beauvillier, Cody Glass, and Drew O'Connor getting one. At 10:56, Russ gets his third unassisted. 14:20, Matt Nedio gets one assisted by Grzelczyk, and Liza. And at 18:42, Noel Archari gets the final goal. This was just outrageous. So shots were 33-23 in favor of the Penguins. Hits were 26-11. Again, I don't know who is doing these write-ups on the stats, but I find that I am not seeing where they're getting these numbers for the hits. So anyway, they had a 26-11. I really question who's bringing down the stats in these games. Faceoffs won 26-25 in favor of the Pens. Power plays 0 for 4 for the Habs, and they looked brutal on the power play. And the Pens looked great on theirs, 2 for 3. Penalty minutes 8-6 for the Pens. Giveaways 13-15 in favor of the Habs. Takeaways 7-3 for the Pens. Block shots 16-8 for the Habs. This was just brutal. Josh Anderson starts that third period off. Just you can't start. I mean, we're down a goal. You cannot get yourself in immediately. You're killing two Josh Anderson penalties. You're gonna get burnt. Now, I believe they killed the first one, but ended up getting scored on in the second one, if I'm correct. But it's just unacceptable. Yes, that's exactly it. So, just brutal, brutal, brutal. Where do we go here again? Let's get to the third. Yeah, he gets an interference and a 2-minute high sticking. What did he think? Yeah, starts the period off at 1:11. And then at 5:51, he gets a 2-minute. That high stick was so blatant, and there's no excuse for it. There's no accident of he didn't have control. He knew what he was doing when he sticked that the guy in the face for the Pens. He knew what he was doing. There's no end ifs and buts in my mind. It was totally indiscipline of Josh, and a shame because Josh, it's he's been playing better this season, but his discipline has gone down. I've noticed in the last few games he's been starting to take some bad penalties, and he's got to get a grip on it. That was just blatant, and it killed our any chance of our coming back. And that seemed to get into the Habs' head once they got scored on. It just started to come apart. You could see it. Um, Again, I mean, Monty was just not there tonight either. I mean, now, mind you, as I said before, you couldn't put it all on Monty um, because the team just played pathetic. And I'll tell you what, Matheson should have been sat. He had a horrific game, and Hudson didn't have a great game defensively. Now, what his magic, I still love what Hudson does with the puck. Although, like I said, the power play stunk tonight. It seemed like nobody wanted to move and do anything. They're just wasted their power plays. I don't know what was in their heads. There was a disconnect. But what you definitely seen in the third period was a give up. They hung the towel in. You can't do that. That's not acceptable. Especially if I feel bad for the fans that bought tickets to this game because this was a waste of money. Like they should have all been reimbursed. This was a disgrace on ice. It's one thing for you to lose a game that the effort the effort wasn't there in the third. No, I'm sorry. It was a struggle as it was in the first and second. Um, you knew that Pittsburgh seemed to have a bit of the edge in those periods. However, we were in it. Um, Especially like the second, we didn't, you could see the change in momentum just a bit in Pittsburgh's favor. And it's just, Like Matheson, a terrible game. The lack of coverage and the amount of players getting. And Lane made a mistake on one play too, on one of Raquel's goals, going over. And this, I found this is a common practice for the Habs, that this bunching up on one player instead of covering the man you're supposed that's free. Like Lane should know that. Now I don't want to pick on Lane because he's just getting back, but man, as a veteran, you got to know that. That was one of the goals that cost us right there too. But the defense, the veterans. I'm sorry, this was a game where, like I said, Mike Matheson was putrid tonight. I'm sorry, and mistakes all over. And did you? I don't know if anybody else noticed, but I caught this. I was wondering if he had something wrong with one of his skate blades because twice he went down, nobody touched him, and it's like he couldn't stand up, and he just flops and goes down on the ice. It's like he got caught in the ice and just went down hard. And it happened to him twice. I've seen this, and I don't know if there was something wrong with the blade, but I hope that's what the case was because it was like he was having problems standing up. I don't know. A putrid game. And when the way he was having this is where the accountability thing I've been talking about has to come into play. And that means if the veterans are having that type of thing, you got to treat them too. Because I'm sorry, Mike would have, and same thing with Josh for the indiscipline. He would have been sat out, and maybe he should be sat out the next game, and Michael Pizzetta. And that's the message. There has to start being a little bit of like an accountability when these guys, even though Anderson's had a great, I mean, I've already said that New Hook should have been sat several times. And why we won't do it is beyond me, because he has not performed well this season. And Josh Anderson has performed much better this season, but of late he's getting undisciplined. And with the discipline in this particular game, you could say he deserves a sit for that. But if that's the case, how many sits did new Alex Newhook deserve and didn't get? This is the accountability problem, and I will say it again. And I've been preaching this from my angle. I 100% believe Marty St. Louis needs an experienced coach with him behind that bench. I will say it over and over, and I don't think it should be a choice anymore. You see how wrong things are going. And I do think that Marty still thinks more like a player than a coach. So he's got to get that transition. And I think that's the point. He's doing good, but he needs that experience to make the transition from a hockey player mind, being a hockey player, to a coach. And that has to transpire. And that's where I say it comes down to your GM to say, okay, Marty, I know they're all friends. Marty, enough's enough. I'm putting someone there in back with you that has experience. You've had the opportunity. You brought in this guy. It's not he doesn't have any NHL experience. This guy that was brought in as a coach in the background upstairs, and really, it's just not the answer. They need to get a coach back there with Marty, and Marty has to accept it. And I think this is where management has to say, "Yeah, you might be our buddy and everything, but we got to give you help so that it helps your coaching game." He needs that experience, and he doesn't need to be. He's past the point of having the leverage of turning that down. So that's where I say management has to put their foot down, even with the coaching staff. It's one thing that I mean the players. This is a disaster, really. The players, it's to give up, and we've seen this far too much this year, and it is a problem. It is a problem. Yes, you're getting talent in this rebuild. I commend management for that. However, you do see a problem with this mentality of give up, and I can't stand it, and it has to you so I do think they don't have to make a drastic move like a horrendous thing, but I do think they need we've been saying this for a while now, and I've been preaching it. They need to bring in some grit. This team has no grit. I mean, I commend Emil Heineman. He seems to be the one consistent player, him and Galley, that give it and are hitting. And Mills hitting more than anybody. But that can't be just it. I know, we, I got to see, I'm shocked with, I usually don't get on Strubal's case, but he was starting to show us signs of hitting. And just because you got pulled, you weren't in the game before this, show us more. So he got away from giving us more of that crunching, that real physicalness that we needed. Um, and I found the defense was just a little more vulnerable tonight, but the help they were getting from the forwards was just a joke. And I don't know what you got to do at this point. I hear the stories, but I don't, I still keep hearing excuses for Alex Newhook, and it's not excusable anymore. I see this guy skate in. This guy is totally afraid of physicality. I'm so done. But again, this coaching staff does nothing. They reward him, but he shouldn't be on that first line. I did notice a swing where Slav started playing with Nick and Caulfield, and I think that needs to happen because line two is not working with Patrick Laine and Doc and Slab. That just not working enough at this point. It can be something you revisit down the road, but it isn't at this present time. It's not working. And I don't think Alex Newhook is the answer when you move Slav to the first line. I don't think that Newhook's the answer for the second line. I think you bring up Emil Heineman because there's only three guys you can choose from who have earned it on that forward group, and that's really Emil. Well, four, okay. Emil Heineman. Evans has to stay put. We know that. Galley has to stay put because that line is really working with Galley, Anderson, and Dvorak. That you don't want to mess with that. That line has been kind of bringing the energy. Um, but other than that, you got two other options, and that's really Emil Hahnemann or Armia. And I'll tell you what, they do deserve a shot on the second line over Alex Newhook. Okay? That's the bottom dollar. I'm tired of this. I don't care that he's got speed. Speed without a purpose is useless. Okay? And this softness, I'm done with it. This whole team is soft. Um, like I say, Emil Heineman seems to be the only forward that's consistently in the hitting department. Evans and Galley are next. Um, Other than that, everybody else, even Cole Caulfield hits more than the majority of these guys. I give Cole Caulfield credit because he's the next after those three that comes out and gives a physical presence on that first line. He was hitting more than anybody, and Susie was playing all right. I got no knock totally against Nick. However, there's so much wrong, and how a guy like Michael Pizzetta is sitting with when you got a situation in Newhook who's not performed should have been sat several times by now, and you should have brought in Pez just for the opportunity. He deserves a shake, just to shake up and give a message to the rest of the guys. I think, though, if we're looking at this Pizzetta situation, I think Pizzetta because I don't see a reason other than that for it. It's like they've given up on him. And I think I had this discussion with somebody else that we're both coaches. And when Pizzetta came out publicly and criticized the Quebec tax system, it's almost like that got him in. It was the improper thing to say, to put publicly. And he's paying the price for it. You got somebody there whether it was I don't think it was appropriate either that he went public about it because it's just not the place for it. But do you punish him? uh, that seems to be what they're doing. I don't agree with it, especially when you got guys not performing and this team is giving up. You can't. This team needs some leaders thrown on this team, veterans, and I mean tough veterans, toughness. For the meantime, yes, we got a great stock down below us, talent coming up, but it's too far off. You need somebody in the here and now. Now, if you don't want to do anything drastic, until the trade deadline, and you just want to do a tweak, you got to bring at least one guy in, even if it's the bottom six. Um, you just got to get some a veteran that's got grit and he's got some heart and soul. They need an injection. There's no doubt, and I don't care if you're going to give up a couple of guys because number one, I put an ad out there and it said put Primo to bed. I stand by that firmly. This guy's not an NHL goaltender, and you've seen how fast they popped in 3 goals on him last night. He's just, I mean, you need a backup sometime to bail out the starter and gain some confidence. You can't get that from Primo. He's just not NHL material. And what are we holding back on making that move? And I'm not totally for us touching anybody in Laval. I'm for us making a move to get a veteran goaltender. Because like I said, Sam plays good at times. I still don't think he's a starter, and he has his moments. He didn't look great last night. He wasn't the blame of it all. I think he kind of gave up around the fourth goal. Once that went in, he just fell apart. But and he didn't look good. There's goals he should have stopped. But I've said this all along. He's a backup in a perfect world in the NHL on a good team. He's a backup goaltender. They need to get a starter and a good solid starter to go along with Sam and Primo. I don't care what you got to do. That's why I put the ad out there. Put him to bed. He seems like a nice kid, but nice doesn't get you what you're doing. You're in a competition here. You're in the NHL. This you're trying to win. That's the ultimate goal. This guy's not at NHL caliber. The excuses from last year that they didn't want to lose him on waivers because somebody wanted him. I think it was Philadelphia. If they want him, let him take him. He's not worth anything now anyway. So either let him go on waivers or trade him, and you don't have to get anything back. Um, it's done. That ship has sailed, and why the Habs aren't doing anything about it is beyond me. I like this management crew. I like the coaching, head coach. I'll say head coach because that's where my support is. I'm really not sold on anybody else in that coaching staff. I still think there needs to be tweaks in that coaching staff. I'm not sold on the defensive coach. I'm not really sure what Latowski is doing. And this guy they brought in, it's not helping anything either. You need a veteran goaltender. This has been a lot of us in different podcasts have been saying they need, a lot of the experts say, and I agree, and I've been calling on it. Um, they need a solid goaltender, and Primo's done. Move on from him. And if you got to make a trade, you got enough draft picks that you can make some type of deal. I don't care if it's Dvorak or somebody's got to go. Dvorak, and I like Dvorak, he's been playing well lately, or if it's Armia or whatever, or David Savard, somebody's got to go. And I do know that people were saying, oh, it would have been better. No, it wouldn't have been better last night if David Savard was in the lineup. Don't give me the garbage. He's a couple steps behind. We know this, that he wouldn't have been the same. Montreal's problem is, and you can see this, I see this continually on the power play, at least when they're penalty killing the other teams on a power play. They allow these players to get behind them as defensemen in front of the net. I've seen this, and it just blows my mind. How do you think you're going to be able to respond when that player's behind you and he's immediately in front of the goaltender? And you're out 5 or 6 feet coming out, angling off because you haven't got your man. So nobody's got that man. When the puck hits the goaltender, if a rebound comes out, it's gone. I've never seen defense played that way. For me, you're here and the player's there and the goaltender's behind me. I'm in between you and the goalie. You're not behind me. I got to be able to, if you've gotten to that position, then one of those defensemen on whichever side it is responsible for that player. I don't understand the concept. I like I said, yes, they tightened up things for several games, but this thing in front of the net to me is a joke when they're killing penalties. Uh, or even you even see it sometime on 5 man on five. They're allowing guys behind them. I don't know. It's something's got to give. I don't mind this loss because for me, I want us to get a top five pick. The better lower we are, the better, because I know this team is not a team that's in the mix for the wild card. That's We've had that discussion over and over. That's a joke. But the attitude on this team has to change. You seeing their heads laying over their arms like this on the bench. That's not acceptable, man. It's like you're giving up. I don't want to see that. If I'm a coach, why there's not a timeout and you get your players straightened out? You can't have them hanging their heads like that. The whole fan base sees that. Come on, wake up. Somebody's got to be a leader on that team to get them out of that. And that's what they don't have enough veteran experience to do. They need grit, and that's why so many times we mentioned the tougher players like Delorier and the gentleman in Columbus, Oliet or whatever his name is. These guys would be perfect, but again, here's another opportunity. I don't know if you could work a reasonable deal for Kreider where he's available in New York because they got so much going wrong. I would not mind that at all. That would add some type of depth. Just be smart in what you're giving up. But something's got to give, and I don't know what you do between Newhook, Slav, and Doc. I don't know what you do, but I do think you need to rotate them sitting out. That's my personal thought. And that means that goes for Slav too. Um, Not happy with the effort. Just he's got these two big bodies. I mean, Newhook is a joke physically. We know he's afraid, but these two big guys, there's no reason for it. And Slav knew that that's what was successful. Now, I do think the right move is to put Slav up with Caulfield and Suzuki and try to get them between the three of them going at a better clip, maybe, and just stick with it and then you got to make some type of tweak though. I don't know what Heineman, like I said, I would have him on the second line long before Newhook, any day of the week. I'd even have Armia before Newhook. And again, it's a shame that even Galley just seems to be working out so well with not messing with that third line of Anderson, Galley, and Dvorak. But something's got to give here, and we're not asking for a miracle, but yeah, you got to make a tweak. You don't have to if you want to wait till the trade deadline to do your big stuff. That's fine. I get it, but you got to get somebody brought in here, and I don't think you should even play with Laval's system. I think make a trade. You got enough draft picks, bundled up that you can get something half decently. That even if you got and you got some couple young players in the system that you can toss into the package that can go. And of course, we got three veterans are going to be 3 or 4 veterans that could be going at the end of this season. So you can always throw one of them in there too. But you've got to get a veteran forward badly. You're going to eventually need, when you do unload David Savard, you better have a veteran right-handed defenseman that can take up that has the speed that you're missing there and can do the same type of job as Savard, except he's got more left in his game. That's what you need. But that can be, I suppose, if you're waiting till trade deadline to do that. But I'll tell you right now, you got to get some sandpaper on that team and some heart because seeing them quit and this mentality, there's no excuse. So anyway, we're off to Winnipeg. I don't know. I'm just so disgusted. Although I'm actually not as freaked out as a lot of Habs fans, which are going ballistic. And get over this team's not playoff bound, and they're nowhere near close to it. We are a bottom fish team in the basement. So get over it. Habs fans need to get realistic. That's first and foremost. And again, um, it would be nice to see our management do some type of tweak just to add somebody with leadership and that's got grit that can kind of work on reversing that quit mentality because that's not acceptable on a team. So they got to nip that in the butt before it goes too far. So thank you for watching. You've seen it here at Center Heights Productions. We will catch you in the next episode. And God help us going up the Jets, who have had a fairly good season. Normally we do well against the Jets, but the way this team is playing, I don't see it. So thank you for joining me. Hit the like, subscribe. You've seen it here at Center Heights, where the puck drops first. God bless.